So we're getting ready to install a dash camera. This model is a forward-facing and rear-facing camera. It will run anytime the vehicle is started, and also has a impact sensor. So if anybody backs into the vehicle in a parking lot, it actually starts recording the incident then and saves that video. On the inside, it looks like a rear view mirror, but you are actually looking at the camera. So it acts as a backup camera, but it's always on. So what I'm doing here is to find the center, and then we'll go on the inside and mark it from there. Okay, we're on the inside now, and what I did is I wanted to have a line that I can use when I'm placing the mirror here. I could position it off of the light, which is where this line is, but anything I do here would be in my way. So I marked the center on the outside, ran a pencil line down, and that is now visible from the inside. I've used this before. I will put a link in the description for this. This is an Auto-Vox. This is an updated model from my previous one. It's a DVR V5Pro. I've been using their previous model for a number of years. I am very happy with it. The video quality is exceptional, and so that's why I decided to go ahead and install that one in here. So we're going to unbox this. You can see it is factory mirror. I mean, I shouldn't say factory. It looks factory. And this is what I really like about it, is that when it's sitting in here, it doesn't look like a dash camera. It looks like a factory rear view mirror. If you have a rear view mirror already in your vehicle, this will clip right into it. They make plates that will adapt to whatever you have. And the other versions are usually very bulky and they clamp onto your existing mirror. I'm not a fan of those. So this one is fairly lightweight. It's not heavy and you're not clamping anything onto your existing mirror, and it will mount right onto your factory bracket that's up there. This vehicle doesn't have a rear view mirror because this is a truck. So we will be gluing a plate up there today. But that is it. That's the forward-facing camera. And then there is another camera that goes on the rear. And that's your rear camera. There's a few different mounting possibilities. The GPS. So it's as I said earlier, this camera, where'd it go? The rear camera is always on, unlike your vehicles where you put it in reverse. This one is always on, but they do make a trigger, I think. There's a trigger wire in there. When you put it in reverse, the camera will switch from forward to reverse. I run mine so it's always showing the rear camera, so it acts just like a rear view mirror. These are all the adapters. Let's not lose them. Depending on the mount that you have, you would use one of these adapters to go right on. And this is the one I'll be using. This will get glued on up here. I do want to note It does not come with the glue to mount that. That I already knew. So I do have the glue somewhere in here. Right there. That's what you need. So I've taken this little piece, since this has to be glued onto the window. I went to the outside, centered it where I wanted it, and then outlined it. So this way, when I go to put this on here now, actually goes this side, I will be able to line it up and know that I'm in the right spot and lined up where I want it to be with the glue. So the other thing I had to do was to get the SD card, and I'm going to put that in now. It'd be a lot easier than afterwards. So there's a little tab here that comes out. There is a slot. I don't know how well we'll be able to see it, but there's a slot right there that's going to go in. SD card's in. You could shut that now. Now time for some alcohol, not the kind we drink. You have the adhesive, activator, and instructions. Okay, so activator, you're going to apply that to here. You do not want to get the activator on anything except the surfaces you want it on. Okay, we got to let that dry for 5 minutes. Okay, and we're back. I'm going to apply the activator. No, I'm sorry, the adhesive. One drop in the center of the button. It is face up, round part up. So there we go. This is where these lines come in now. I'll hold it there for 1 minute.
1 minute.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. There we go. Now we get to wait 15 minutes. Okay, so 15 minutes is passed and we are set. That is ready to have the mirror attached to it. And while that's been drying, I've been working down here in the fuse box we've had to modify this fuse holder to make it look like that. This was filled in the center here, a different type of fuse. So I was able to cut out the center so that this is called a fuse tap, and we can now make the fuse tap fit in there. If you have the same problem, the yellow fuse there is what comes and is how this was originally set. And I needed it to be like the red. So what I did was to score, I'll lay that down. I scored a line in between the two pins on this side, then I flipped it over, did the same thing there, then grabbed in between here with my needle nose and carefully bent one way then the other and snapped it, cleaned it up with the razor, and now it fits in, holds tight, and gets energized. So it was either that or go find another type of tap, which you could also do. They sell fuse taps for different types of fuses, and that's an easy way to tap into your fuse panel. So I'm going to go pull the tape off of there. So that's a new change on the old one. The original one I installed on the truck over here, that was a set screw. They've changed it now to a screwdriver, Phillips. And that's a pretty good thing. I always recommend if it was a set screw with an Allen key, you keep those in the vehicle in the glove box, because if it ever loosens up you could tighten them. Sometimes they're very hard to find exactly what size, but this is all set as far as the mount goes. I think that's going to work well for me. I did put this up as high as possible. Typically your rear view mirror is in line of sight, which would come around here for me, and then depending on your height you could adjust up and down. I put this up high because I'm not trying to look back through anything. I'm just looking at a camera. So this could be mounted up here. This could literally be mounted on the dash down here. Normally a mirror is placed so that the reflection is looking back. But when it's a camera, you can mount it anywhere you want, as high or as low as you want. You can mount it on a dash if you wanted to. I mounted it up high so I have a much better clear vision here. I wanted my field of vision to be unobstructed, but also the natural reaction from driving for so many years is to glance up at your mirror. So on the other truck I had done a test run with it actually mounted on the dash, and it was just weird to look down to look back. So I ended up moving it up there on that truck, and on here because I'm gluing my own button on there, I was able to get it up very high and keep my field of vision now very clear, and also the camera here will have a much better angle coming down. So yeah, that part is done. Next up, probably happen tomorrow, I have to get into this headliner and run the wires. we were working on the electric down here, and so since my fuse panel's on the passenger side, I'm going to run all my wires down there. There is the GPS sensor. I'll probably end up placing over there as well. I'll keep all my wires running down there through the body and out the back for the rear camera. So there we go. We're all set for tonight. So I had to pull the panel out to get to the electrical for another job I was doing. On here, this is a 2014 Mitsubishi Fuso FG. Production date was actually March of 2013, but it wasn't put into service until 2014. So since I had to pull this panel out, I decided to pull the other panel out, which is exposing all of that. Where you see rust is actually bare metal that was untreated from the factory. You look under most vehicles, you will actually see that, and it does rust. I will eventually be taking care of that. I'll be hitting that with some POR 15. I'll try to sand as much as I can, then I'll hit it some POR 15 and then paint that so it doesn't continue rusting. And there's some tabs down there. You can see that I'll be doing the same thing. But I figured I'd take this opportunity to get in here and clean all this out. Really cool to find out that this has a very cheap cabin air filter. I'm going to see if I can upgrade that to a better filter, but it was super cool that they had one. And I'm going to try to get an air gun in there and blow that out, clean up any dust in here. But they make, what I'm really impressed here is how easy everything is to access. The switches, everything's labeled like super clearly to pull everything out. This interior is going to be getting a full bath, and I will be detailing this dash. You can kind of see all the crustiness of it never being cleaned, probably in its entire life. This was a construction vehicle, so they don't typically take care of them as much as a personal vehicle would. My construction vehicles always were, but I'm going to come through here. Jump up in here for a second. You can see some of this nastiness on here. Oh, actually it comes out really. There, you can see the crud all in here. I'm going to be using headlight lens cleaner to try to polish this up and get all that cleaned. These wires are from a rear view camera that I'm installing now. Not a backup camera, an actual rear view camera, which is right up there. Have that mounted and got to run all these wires now down to the fuse panel. But I figured it's getting a little too cold and late to work out here. So I took these panels off and I'm going to run them inside and I can give them a bath tonight and get them clean, and they'll be dry to reinstall on here tomorrow. But I figured I'd document what this actually looks like right now before I start the bath. There was this panel here. There is so much liquid on the back of it that's been dried, and it's all from this is the cup holder. So they have probably had coffee and stuff spill in here, and it would just run right down this panel and into the back, and you can see it kind of on there. This has got to be taken out. This is like super sticky. I will figure out how to get that out and detail all of that as well. Eventually this whole area here will be a radio GPS head unit that will sit in this entire spot. I'll have a nice flat screen there for a GPS function, tied into Android, Apple CarPlay, but that's what's going to happen there. And then I have all kinds of special brushes to get into all these nook and crannies and clean all this dust and dirt out. These are going to be really hard to get in there, get all that cleaned out. Hopefully I could find a way, if I can get that out of there, that would actually be better. And then once this is all detailed, and by that I mean just like getting the dirt off of here, at some point this summer, this entire dash is going to be pulled out, as well as these door panels and such. And these are all going to be re-dyed black. I'm going to make everything in here just solid black. Right now this is blue, that's black, that's gray. Door panels are gray, the tops are blue. So I will be going through here and just making it one uniform color. This matte will be either replaced if I could find a black one. I'll put a black one down the center console here. Whatever I can make black in here, I will. And what I can't, like if I can't do this, then I'll actually cover this with a new vinyl. It's all going to be insulated too. So under here will be insulated. Headliner will be completely pulled out, and there'll be sound deadening and insulation in there. Door panels will have sound deadening and insulation. And then these seats will go. They are actually in remarkable condition for a contractor vehicle. Some stains and stuff here. But these are all going to go, and there'll be full suspension seats in here, which will make the ride so much nicer. And then this, most likely, I'm still going back and forth, but I believe that I am going to turn this into a pass-through. I think there's a way to lay that down, but I think this is all going to be cut out here and have a pass-through into the camper body. So quick little tour of the progress that I'm doing on this Fuso. So here's the panels I pulled out. This is the would be to the right of the steering wheel, driver's side. Here's the fun part. This is where the drink holder is, and it just allows so much to spill down there if somebody's not careful with their drinks, which looks like they weren't. So I will be giving all of this a bath. Here's the other one. This is the passenger side. And then right here is the area where the drink holder is. On this one, it's quite interesting. There's just a tremendous amount of stuff right here. I don't know what that's from, unless they were putting their drinks up on the dash or something. This panel's pretty beat, but it won't matter once I get it painted. But this is what they look like now, and I will get all that cleaned up. Mindful of all these electrical connections. it'd be good, especially in here, to get all that all nice and cleaned up before going back on. And I'll show you what it looks like after. Yeah, that happened on the last one too. So we'll just continue on and do it this way. A little bit more up there. There's a way. Okay, I think we're good there. This is the previous one I made right there. You can see you gotta make sure it fits into those two areas. I'm going to test which one it is, but we're going to go into this next hole right now. There we go. We have our two fuse taps. Over here, constant power, and over there, ignition power. So the constant power for this mirror runs it for your impact sensors when you're parked, and keeping your clock and stuff like that up to date. Doesn't draw a lot of power, but that's what constant is for. And then your ignition, as soon as you start the vehicle, the cameras will engage or energize, and you'll have your forward and reverse cameras available. Now we will get the wires run from up there. I'm going to run them down through here and tap in. sure when the headliner goes back up, it's touched in here, it's not, or attached, not crushing that wire. This headliner will eventually be pulled completely down, and this is all insulated. At that point, wire will be attached firmly into the metal and in between the insulation. But for now, this is going to work.
Actually, gonna pause here. I'm gonna pull this back down. It's pretty dusty. I'm gonna wash it up before installing it again.
Okay, we've got the vacuumed this off, washed the pan there, so that's going to go back up now. So I washed that, vacuumed this all down. It was really dusty.
Long screw goes over here.
Having worked on a Ford Transit prior to this build, I am really impressed on the simplicity of this truck. I washed the visor and the side panel here.
It's right there. Might have just done this backwards. if I can get this all the way down behind here. The other side was much smaller, so I could have run it up from the bottom. But we'll see what happens here. It gives me a chance to clean another panel here. Very dusty too.
Pulled off this panel. I'm going to try to do this without being in the way.
What I'm looking for now is a clean path down into this panel.
Take the same route they did with the main wiring harness. Comes right down in there. I'll be able to zip tie to that. The GPS wire. Follow that same path. Okay, got the wires routed down here. I'm going to zip tie them on to this main wiring harness. But before I do that, I'm going to give this panel a bath. And we'll get this all plugged in. We've got this panel cleaned up. Get this washed off in here. My wires are tucked away back there. Actually, I'm going to throw the zip tie right in there before we continue. was just a push pin retainer clip over here. Okay. Oh, we can put this on too. We've got our wires run down, put the panels back on, zip tied. Now we are going to connect our ground. I have some ground connections down here. This is coming from the GPS. We're going to switch these out from pin connectors to flat connectors. Cut some wire off at the bottom so I could reuse those in another job. The fuse taps I use, take that connector. That's why you pull on them, to make sure you have a good crimp. And why it's always good to have extra. Ready to go. I'm going to go back to the ground wire here, and we have a ground point right there, so we're going to hook that to there. Could be done a lot quicker just by shoving the wires up in there. I like things neat. I don't like wires to be able to get hooked on something and pulled. So I will take the time to work it into the wiring harness. What I'm not liking is the wires bending up here. So wire ties are cheap. Going to reposition those. That felt good. Right down here I have a wire grommet to pass through. I can get outside where I will run the camera wire. I'm going to pull that in. For now, I can get this. I believe I can get this through there. Yes. So these grommets usually have a sleeve that come up and then electrical tape wrapped around it. So I'm going to try to undo that so that I could run my new wire through there. There's the edge right there. You have patience, you just keep working on it, and eventually it'll go. This stuff is really thin. It's not like regular electrical tape. It is super thin. That's why it tears like this. Tearing. I'm going to make a nice, very soft incision because I don't want to cut through the rubber or the wire. See if I can give myself a clean edge to pull from. Okay, we got that off. Now I'm going to try to get my wire from underneath. to our ignition. Okay, here we are. So you can see we do get some reflection on there. So that does actually act as a rear view mirror without the camera on. If you had something to look at. In any vehicle I put that in, I've never used that feature. So we're going to turn our ignition on here. Beautiful day at the lake here. The rear camera I just have laying there right now, so that's why it is upside down. Let's see, we can go into our settings. If I switch, I think this is switching the camera. Oh, that's new. Split screen here. So this is the front facing camera, and I can adjust this right here to see what do I want to see. When I'm on the road, I'll be able to see that better. That's my right side. Probably gonna be something like that. I'll leave that like that for now. And I always leave it on rear setting, so that's normally how I have it. Again, the camera right now is just laying back there, so that's why it's upside down. But there it is, so that's what we have. And anytime you do adjust this, make sure you do adjust your front-facing camera. And now when I shut down, this will shut off here in a minute or two. There we go. Start the car, or truck in this case. There we go. So that'll be it. The rest of this is just running the wiring underneath the cab of this truck to the rear. That'll be different for every vehicle, and it's pretty straightforward. But that is how easy it is to wire in, and it looks factory. That's what I love about it.